Family, welcome to your next episode of Financial Freedom. We have a great show for you today and a great topic. But first, I want to make sure I thank you. Just take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's because of you that Hope TV has spread from one episode of one show to over 35 different shows. In just 65 days, because of your 10 million views, been able to launch a whole channel. And you can find that channel at The Hope TV, all caps, one word, on multiple streaming platforms. You can look for us there. But if it had not been for you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for that. If you could take a moment, share this video, give us a like, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you comment any questions in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to look over them. And maybe, just maybe, your question will be on our next episode. But family, on to the show. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit more about banking and investment banking, but with the overall topic of basically, where do we put our money? What does it look like when we put it there? What does it do? We're going to talk with a valuable financial expert today, Mr. Dominic Dugiste of Dugiste Financial Group. He was educated at the University of North Georgia. Afterward, he worked over 9 years in the financial sector. He is the ex-president of South DeKalb Business Association. His business makes it its mission to, quote, bridge the gap to your financial future by improving your personal financial knowledge and skills and managing your financial resources. Their motto is, if you do not prepare, you do not succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be bringing on the show Mr. Dominic Dugiste.
Hey, how you doing there, Derek? Thank you, and I truly
My good
appreciate
man.
you allowing me to be on the show.
Sir, it's a pleasure to have you. One more time for me, because I'm almost positive I murdered your last name. Tell me how to pronounce that thing. I'm gonna get it.
Does you stay? Is it
Dugiste.
Does you stay?
De
Yes.
Juste.
Juste. Yes.
Juice.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna work on
Ju.
that. I promise I'm gonna get
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna get it, I promise. But you've done some amazing things, and now you're in this financial sector. When I was looking over your website, when I was looking over some of the things that you have done, um, it seemed that you placed a big emphasis on education. Um, what particular avenue does you and your professional expertise kind of walk up?
One of what I typically deal in is more fixed assets, and also preparing my clients for the future. One of the things I have learned being in this industry and talking to different people from different races, different background, different economically, is that they're not given enough information. And I believe you have to teach your clients so they can be successful. That's one of the things I try my best to inform into them. I said, if I give you enough information to make a sound decision, one of the things is that a lot of people don't get enough information out there from the companies that they deal with. And then once they come to me and I look over what they have, they're asking questions. Why are they charging a certain fee? Why is the person doing a certain thing? And one of the things in this industry, people are just overlook the client and put them in things that they think they can make money rather than doing the best for the client.
Right, right. I was talking with a gentleman last week, Mr. Carlton III, and he had did some work for the banks, and he said, and let me know how you feel about this statement. He said, when you come into a place, you have to know why you're there, because if you don't know why you're there, the bank is always going to put you in services that's most profitable for them. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah, working at the bank at Wachovia, I think that's one of our biggest things I saw, because we can start back early as 1999 when Bill Clinton decided to kill the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933, and then the act that was
Okay.
put into place. I'm see the name of it, the Financial Service Moderation Act. They allowed banks and investment firms to be able to merge. When they decide to have those two to be able to merge, is now I can see your bank account. Notice you got $3 million in your account. Now, what I was doing when I was working as a teller, I go tell the financial professional in the back, hey, this certain person put this certain money in here. So now they will receive a bunch of phone calls to be able to now to try to upsell them on a different product.
Whoa, hold
So
on a minute. You just said a whole lot right there. Hold on a
yeah,
minute. So now go back and tell me about that tell me about that act again. That act. What was the name of that act, and what did it do to our banking and financial system?
So the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933 was put in place by Franklin during the Franklin Roosevelt era during the Great Depression. What you ended up having
Hmm.
was run on the banks. For them to be able to have, for people to have trust back into the banks, they ended up passing that act. And what ended up coming out of that act was the Federal Deposit Insurance. Let me see, it was the FDIC basically came out of it. And so what
Okay.
ended up happening, most of your money is insured by the bank is backed by the federal government. So if
Right.
anything happened to the up to $250,000, I think it's $250,000. The bank
I
will be able
believe
to
it is.
cover you.
Yeah.
There's $250,000. So when that
Mm.
act was passed, people, was feeling calm because people were running to the bank. I think almost 4,000 different banks was about to fail during that period, during the Great
Wow.
Depression. So that act was in place all the way up to when Bill Clinton ended up, changing that act during in 1999 because most of the banks saying they couldn't compete globally wise because they couldn't offer enough products. And so 2008 comes, we end up having to bring the Glass-Steagall Act back into place, but they end up changing it to the Dodd-Franklin Wall Street Reform Act to make sure that the federal government can watches over the bank because when they end up merging together, you just have a whole lot going on. And I think a few companies, for instance, when I was working at MetLife, we was doing when I first got in the industry, I didn't know MetLife had a bank, but as
Mm.
I was working in that year, the bank was removed because they didn't want the Federal Reserve watching over their back deeply because it's one of those things where I can see how much money you deposit in your bank account, and then now I can turn around, I can solicit you for other products. That's
Okay.
my opinion from what I took from it, but I don't know
Hmm.
actually all the detail. But you can probably look it up online. Most companies separated bank and investment firms.
Okay. Okay. So at one point, the bank and investment firms were the same place.
Same place before, because what ended up happening was most of the things that happened were during the Great Depression was a bank was investing their deposits into the stock market. When the stock market crashed, that affected the bank because they took most of the
Right.
clients' deposit. Now
Mhm.
today they only can deposit no more than 10%. Use 10% of their money into investments. So what they did was
Oh.
so there's a big difference now.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that I was curious about that I was when I had my guest on last week is that we were talking about the difference between commercial banks, investment banks, and investment firms.
Mhm.
In your opinion, in your professional opinion, is there a real difference, or are they just all the same entity doing barely a different kind of job with your money?
But in today's time, they almost all merged together. But at
Mm.
one point, you had, like I said, with the 1933 with the Glass-Steagall Act, they were divided between the bank and investment
Right.
banks. Would you have more of a bank? A bank is more, for instance, for consumers, deposit, loans, and that's where they make their money from. You know,
Mm.
the money that they hand out the majority of the time. When investment banks dealing with trying to bring up, basically putting stocks and investments out there for institutions and government for the government. So, for instance, investment bank might do something for raise bonds for a particular project to help get a particular project for a city of Atlanta. If so,
Okay.
they might help come in places so they can be able to sell and find people who have that income to be able to afford those bonds and those investments.
Got you. So investment banks are dealing with big money, like that would come from corporations.
Is it corporation? Yes. So typically that's what they do, but they also deal have brokerage companies where they deal with individuals as well because they are all basically fee based. There's a more higher risk dealing with investment banks rather than dealing with a bank because a bank is basically backed by the Federal Reserve, so they have rules and regulations. When an investment bank is a little they can take a little bit more risk.
Okay. Okay. Got you. So let me get this straight. So when someone comes into your business, and they're like, "Yo, man, I don't know which way to go with this money." One of the first things you aspire to do is educate them, correct?
Yes, educate them. Let them make a sound decision because at the end of the day, you have to live with whatever choice you make. One of the things is, if anyone ever tell you they're gonna guarantee you anything, walk out the door, because nothing is guaranteed in life. But only two things: death. Those only two things is guaranteed. Is you gonna eventually gonna pay. If you don't pay them, someone else gonna pay them for you.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this: when it comes to your customers when you get ready, if I sit down with you and I go, man, what financial institutions do I need to have in my pocket in order to be
Mm-hmm.
financially successful? What would you say to me?
Now, first thing I would say to you, I would just say, it all depends on what cash flow you have coming in. Because I know a lot of
Okay.
people who want some investments that come to me because I don't specialize in investments. I'm dealing with
Mhm.
IRAs, but what I tell them is that you want to make sure when someone comes to me, I said, "Do you have a 401k at your job?" And they say, "Yes." I said, "Do you max out that 401k?" They say, "No." I said, "Well, max out that 401k before you decide to invest outside of your job, because that's typically, you can go up to almost, I think, 18,000 with a 401k at your job, and most people do no more than matching whatever their employee match. So you probably have more than about $10,000 left over that you can put into your 401k. Rather than
Right.
then you max that out, you can go into do an IRA that's up to $6,000. You can, and so that's what that's what I try to tell people before they decide to go outside of that. Because one of the things that you have to make
Mhm.
is a decision when you invest on your own, rather than when it's at your job, flip that button and they just taking the money out before you even see it. But one
Got you.
of the things,
So
one
no,
side
go
doesn't
ahead. I'm
fit
sorry.
all. One size doesn't fit all because everybody's different.
Got
So
you.
yeah, you have to
So
look at that.
so it's very dependent on your financial situation, how you kind of maneuver that individual.
Exactly. It all depends on their financial situation. Because someone's making 30 or 40,000 would probably be totally different than someone who's making 200 to 300,000. And you have a lot
True.
of a lot of people out here who sell products to individuals who making 200,000 to someone who making 40,000, and it doesn't make any sense. But one of the things is you have
Mhm.
to seek, just like you when you're looking for someone to be in a relationship with, you have to go out here and find out who you want to court to do your money. And well, that's what
True.
most people do at all. So what they do is, they go by. Derek told me to go talk to Mr. DeJuste, and I might not be the individual for you. It might be someone else out there
Mm.
that can help you. Because one of the things in the industry is that a guy told me, say, everybody's not a client, Tom. They don't try to fit everybody into what you believe or what you think can help them out. Allow them to figure
Right.
out their.
So I should be shopping for banks. So I'm not getting courted. So I'm gonna have to show a little bit more initiative and go
Exactly.
find some of these banks, and I'm gonna look at the character of the bank, not just if the bank look pretty. And I'm
Exactly.
gonna look at what what I need to get done, and what my goals are, and see if the bank lines up with that, and what
You're
services they offer. And I'm gonna be
because
shopping. I'm gonna be dating banks.
exactly. And you're gonna go out there. What you have to find out, because if you don't find out, believe me, and at the end you'll be upset because they can
Oh
hit you with
man,
that you don't know. Just for instance, BB&T, you have to deposit your money before 6 o'clock. But SunTrust, I think SunTrust is
I
like
didn't
eight.
know that.
BB&T, but I think Bank of America is like 8 or 9 o'clock. You can deposit a check in before a cutoff in ATM. So there's a big difference. Some things you have to be able to look for that most people don't look
So
for at
I
all.
can't call BB&T after 6 because they like I don't take them calls them late. So you're gonna have to make sure you call me early, or at least send me a
Yes,
message to let me know you about to call.
exactly. So basically, what end up happening is
Um,
they cut our period. The ATM is 6 o'clock, and if you put it in at 6:05, that next day that overdraft fee hit for $35,
Ooh,
and
you
then
getting charged
I'm
for nothing. Wow, wow.
yeah,
So, and this is one thing I've heard before. When it comes to these kind of financial plans, and this is something that you're also accenting about last week as well, because you were both kind of echoing each other when you talk about the idea that your financial plans and what institution you choose is really dependent on your financial plan.
yes,
Um, One thing I loved about your website when I went to go look at it is that y'all kind of have this education wing that it looks like y'all are kind of reaching out to give people financial education, and it looks like you're standing in a classroom. Is that accurate?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am standing in the classroom.
Cool,
Um,
cool. I want to ask you a couple questions about that because it really intrigued me.
mhm.
Um, One thing I've even talked to some of my friends about it, and one of the things that they tell me is sometimes I don't even know a place to start. I think you already kind of hinted towards if you don't start nowhere else, start at your job with your 401k, with your IRA, max those things out. But after you do that, I mean, where do you start with this financial blah 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 blah? I mean, where do you start?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's like you said, well, like I said from the beginning, it all depends on where you're at in life. And one of the things is, for me myself, I have no kids. I'm not married, but I do want to create a legacy. And when you want to create a
Right,
legacy, you start looking at things from a different perspective. And some people might
right.
look at it like, I'm gonna spend all my money and I'm not worrying about anyone, and I'm gonna spend every dime. Yeah, you have heard that before.
I'm getting these new shoes. We going to
Yes,
Vegas. What happens in
yes.
Vegas stays in Vegas. Stay out my business.
Exactly. And so, but
Got you.
but one of the things is, I think, especially for our community, is that
Right,
I think I speak to people about this all the time. I seen John Lewis march to Washington. I seen him make a sacrifice by getting bit by a canine. And I said, but I take it to this degree, because I give people that visual. I want everybody to understand that we have to make sacrifices for our future to be able for our kids, and that's what we got to
right.
start today, and the best time to start, because one of the things is we always harper on the past, but until you start fixing and planning things for your future, because one of the things I have, like I said, I have no kids, but I have life insurance to cover for me and my brother and my sister, and I pay way over $200 for my insurance. I have no
Wow.
kids and no wife to take care of, but my brother and sister. I said, if I can leave them something, if I die in the immediate future, at least I know I left them something to have a better start than what I had, and so they can move
Word.
forward and hopefully I pass that along, because that's the
So I
ultimate
saw you.
plan.
So, I love that. I love that. So when I see you standing in the classroom, um, I remember I was overhearing conversation among parents, and there was this kind of debate. And I don't have any kids, so there's just some discussions I don't debate. It's over above my pay range, right? So, but I often wonder about when do you start teaching financial education? When, because I saw you in the classroom and I looked and it looked like there were different age brackets in that same room. I could have been
Mhm.
looking at it wrong, um, but when do you start? Like when should we start? Because you bring up legacy, you bring up children, you bring up family. Um, I've definitely met people who were 40 years old and had no financial knowledge, and I've met an 18-year-old who seemed like he was managing his entire household.
Exactly.
Um, where do we start with this financial education? When should we begin? What do you think?
I think at a very early age. I think when they start talking, you start teaching them about certain things like money. Like one of the things is you can give a kid an allowance, and then when they spend the money up, so you have no money. You just start teaching them how to budget and save, and that's one of the things you
Gotcha.
can do at the beginning. And what you do is you implement each stage of their lives. You start giving them different lessons about managing their money. And then once they become a certain age, 18 to 19, like you said, they are fully prepared and ready to go out in this world. Because one of the things in today in the school system, they're not teaching the kids anything about finance. When I was growing up, I didn't know nothing about Georgia Power. I didn't know, my grandma say $10. I'm like, that $10 ain't gonna do anything. But I realize now, I should have been listening to a little bit more in depth.
Mhm.
But but there's more things that we should have been learning. It's like right now I'm teaching middle school kids and I'm teaching adults. And
Wow. Okay.
middle school kids do want to know, want to learn, but it's just that some kids don't, because it's not taught in their household. Because at the end of the day, and I know some people are just struggling to be able to eat and keep the lights on.
Right. Right.
And I think one of the things I truly believe in is that we know everybody needs help, and no one can do this on their own. And I think that we should be able to try to give back rather than give someone, like that old saying. This is the old saying. Rather than give them the fish, teach them how to fish. Fish.
Right.
I think the system that we're currently in, and this is just my opinion, that we'll always be given something, so we don't have to learn anything. Because as soon as we can learn, we're not codependent on you anymore. And
Got you.
so
Got let me ask this, because you bring up a very, very large scope. We're in an era of, Black Lives Matter. We're seeing a resurgence of interest in Black-owned businesses, Black-owned
Mhm.
business owners, entrepreneurship, and services. Um, when it comes to Black dollars and spending power, um, what are some of the major hiccups you see when it comes to people being able to, put their money where their heart is? Do
And
you see stuff like that?
yeah, yeah, I do see hiccups. I give you for instance, you can go on Gresham Road, and on Gresham Road, you got five hospitals. I'm not five. I said hospital because I saw the ambulance. My bad. But you have five gas stations. You got five
Easily
gas stations.
distracted. I love it. All
A
right,
little
got you.
distracted.
You back now. You back.
You got five gas stations, one American Deli, and a Walmart. You have nowhere to go eat, and you have probably have about four or five people that fix on cars, and probably two or three beauty supply shops over there. And
Okay.
there's nothing over there as if you are a young person, that's all you see when you grow up. That's the first thing you want to try to emulate. And then if you
Right.
see, the next thing that we see is that the guys on the block who's standing there with the nice cars, who know, we know what they are doing, but that's what you see all your life growing up. We don't have on TV no more Dr. Hustable. You know what I mean? What we
Right.
do have on TV now is that we have, black on black crime, which we know they don't talk about white on white crime, Indian crime, because most likely at the end of the day, most people gonna end up killing someone that's close to them or within their neighborhood. But everything is
Right.
so essential in our community to be able to, I say demonize us. That's what I put it sometimes, because it's not uplifting. And and one of the things is we have to get a way to have an outlet to teach our people and tell our people that we are great. We have Derek who's going
Oh,
to the hospital.
I want to point out a couple things that I feel like you're saying, and I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
Mhm.
The first thing that I heard you say is that one of the biggest hiccups we deal with is a lack of education,
Lack of
right?
education, you're right.
What I'm hearing you say now is that we also suffer from a lack of exposure and vision when it comes to
Yeah.
applying our money where it needs to go.
Yes. You're exactly right.
Okay. Okay. And that's huge. And that's huge. I think part of we had also had a show discussing how systemic racism and poverty
Mhm.
impacts our community as well. And I think you're also speaking to that idea of whenever you see, I don't want to call those businesses low hanging fruit, but whenever you
Mhm.
see the things that are most readily available to you, you tend to funnel your money and your attention there. Whatever looks
Yeah.
most lucrative or most fun or most easy to get some cash, that tends to
Exactly.
be where you spend your money. Let me ask you this, and I want to focus a little bit on your educational programs because I think that's one of the things that you're really helping us in. Um, who is the target audience of your program when you step in a room
Um,
to teach? Who's your target audience?
my target audience, you could say middle school kids, and
Hmm.
typically, the schools I'm at, I have worked at in the past. Bunce, Best, and Coretta Scott. Those are schools that I have worked at. And I have to teach the adult class at Bunch. And I was looking forward to doing a constant colony elementary school, but they, because of Corona, then we end up didn't get a chance to. But we are looking forward and moving in the fall with it. But the middle school kids are the kids you can basically reach right now, because typically in high school, kids have so many outlets. And
Right.
some kids might jump to the financial class, but some kids, most likely, if I can go play basketball, football, I'll be part of the
Right.
chess club, a lot of
I'm
things you
trying to
can be
be
able to do.
popular. I'm trying to be
Yeah,
fly. I'm trying to get out
exactly,
here with the cheerleaders real quick. I'll check back with you in a minute.
exactly.
No, I get it. I get it. There's a lot of distractions in high school. That's true.
Mm. And so one of the things is too is it's just like everything in life. Some people get it early and some people get it late.
Right.
Some people understand finance early, as
Hmm.
as some people get it real late. Just like relationships, you get it early, you understand it early, or you might take you 20, 30 years to understand how to treat a certain person at a certain time. Everything takes
Look, it's
time.
okay to be 60 and settling down. I mean, I'm just saying,
Tell me.
I'm just saying. Look, so what what also interested me was the idea that you specifically mentioned in your educational classes that I read about you is that you embrace technology. What does that mean when it comes to
Well, yeah,
finances?
one of the things is that you have a lot of outlets out there you can use. And when people come to me and they're talking about, I want to do certain things, you just can Google everything you need. Like I tell the kids, if you need to know anything out here in this world, you can Google. You don't have to call me, you have to call anyone. When I first got in this industry, um, I went to two different firms. And one guy finally that I knew for a long time, he said, Dominic, I'm gonna explain something to you. And what was it, 2014? He said, you can Google what you need to learn. He said, in life, you have to have experience and you got to learn to fail. So don't look at
Mm.
failure as being a bad thing. Look at failure as building you up to teach you not to do that
You
again.
got to learn to fail. Mm.
You got to learn. You know, one of the things is people are scared to fail, but to move forward in life, you need that little kick in the butt. A guy told me one day, said you're getting a $60,000 to $70,000 education, a Harvard education in finance by failing at the beginning, because he said you'll lose a whole lot of money at the beginning, but guess what? You will learn not to do again.
Right. I heard somebody once say to me that the the payment for success is failure.
Yes, and it
Um,
hurt.
you know what? I've seen it. I've experienced it. It ain't been pretty. It does hurt. It does hurt. Let me ask you this, and then I want to wrap up because our half an hour went by pretty quick. What are your thoughts on investment apps like Stash, Acorn, Robinhood, stuff that you can? I've even seen like stock investing, other stock investing apps as well. As a man from your position, how do you feel about that kind of tech when it comes to investments?
But one of the things is all of them are great, but it all
Okay.
depends on what stage you're in. I think Robinhood is more for an individual who's a little bit more investment savvy, who understands the market a little bit more. Because Robinhood is
Okay.
free. That's the great part about it, is free. And then
Okay.
I think it's Stash, right? Stash is a little bit
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
educational, but the thing is you'll be doing it more on your own. And but I think there's a cost behind it, up to $1 to 5,000 and 25. Then it's 0.25 after 5,000 for an annual fee.
Okay.
Everything over
Okay.
5,000 you have in the account.
I
But
didn't
then
know
you
that.
also, yeah. And then
Okay.
the last one I think is, what is it? The last one, the R, was it R?
Acorn.
Acorn. Acorn is almost like one of the things is you can put it on cruise control and it'll do and I think you can pick a certain field that you want to be in the to put your money in, and it will do it itself, and you can walk away from it, but it's a cost, and there's different tiers for Stash and Acorn that you have to
Right.
understand. But Robinhood is free, but Robinhood, you take on most of the responsibility, and Stash, for someone who needs to talk to someone on the phone, probably the best one for you, because you can email and call, but the other two you only can email. So that's
Got
one of
you.
the things
Got
you have to do, is you have to do your research before you deal with each one of these apps, because a lot of people, like as you know, someone jumps on down looking for help, and you mess around, put 1,000 or two in there, and you lose it. Now you discouraged from being in the market, and then you'll walk
right.
away from it. Because guess
Got
what?
you.
That could have been niche. That could have been something you could do in the future.
Got you. Got you. So a lot of this is based again, and it's so interesting to hear how much control we actually have over our money. I think a lot of times when we think about it, we don't think we're in control of our money. Like we don't take that kind of possession and stewardship over our money to be able to say this is what we got and this is where we can take it. Um, that's that's eye opening. A lot of that is very eye opening.
Exactly. That's one of the things is, like I said, we just got to educate and inform ourselves out here. I really can see that. I think today's times right now is an opportunity for us to make a change, like you said with Black Lives Matter. This is an opportunity for us to move forward. Long as we don't get complacent and fall asleep, we should be okay going forward. One of the things is I don't want to see it. The biggest thing I'm hoping not to see us from 2 to 3 years from now, that we forgot all what happened today, and then we end up
Yeah.
falling behind because we're
Yeah.
not paying attention to what the government, Congress, and what laws are being passed. And that's the most
Yeah.
important part. We have to pay attention to everything that's going on. From here on out. I think we made great strides in 2020. You know,
Mm. Yeah. You know what? If you'll hang out with us for a little while longer, I want to discuss those things. You brought up a couple of laws, man, that I didn't even know about, and I think are very worthwhile information. Family, Mr. Jujiste, thank you so much for being with me and spending this half an hour with me and the family here. Family, that has been your show on financial freedom. This is the end of our time, but not the end of this session. We're going to have a little bit more coming up. And so if you'll hang out with us again next week, we'll see you soon. Other than that, family, stay safe out there, and I hope to see you again. Be well.